going live.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Touhou World Cup 2021 preview stream. With me, joining me, absolutely necessary to explain what's going on, I have ZPS, a very skilled, very knowledgeable Touhou player. Welcome, my dude.
Hello.
So, I thought a great way to get started would be to have you explain a little bit about the history of Touhou World Cup, because I remember seeing it over the few years. I tuned in here and there, but I wasn't fully familiar with quite what was going on or how the format works or even how it got started. So I'll let you start there.
Okay, so this competition, this is actually the second year we're doing this. We did one last year. How this was started was, it was an idea that the Chinese community came up with, specifically a player called Sero, who is actually competing in the tournament. They had this idea, basically take the best players from China, Japan, and the West, have them compete in each of these categories. There's scoring matches and survival matches. Scoring, pretty simple, get the high score. Survival, basically goal is to clear the game using as few resources as possible.
Not too different than Kumite, right? Do you guys do bomb counts and all that sort of thing as well?
Last year, bombs were just outright banned.
Oh, that's cool. That's a cool idea.
Same as 2 deaths. Yeah, and actually a little bit of history with why no bomb is a thing in Touhou. Basically, the point of that is you clear the game relying entirely on your survival. Your dodging abilities. It just eliminates resource management.
And I know Touhou rewards you with like extra bonuses and stuff when you get through the patterns without bombing. Like pretty standard, right, across most of the games?
Yeah, that's been a thing in almost every game since the 6th one.
Well, cool. I swear I saw something in 2019, but maybe I'm just crazy.
2019, I think that's when we were still doing dodging rain competition.
Oh, maybe that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm also really curious to hear is, how did you get so many different regions together? For people who don't know, not only is it the Western players competing, this is why it's World Cup, but it's also China and Japan, which is really cool. And so how is that connection happening? Is that pretty common for Touhou to have cross-community globally?
Yeah, I'd say the international communities for Touhou are a lot more closely linked than they are for arcade shmups. Just in general, really. I know Sarah, who created the event, was in a lot of English-speaking Discord servers a few years ago. And then, we all know each other on Twitter and stuff like that. So it is a pretty well-connected community internationally.
Well, that's awesome. So now, since it's the World Cup, who won last year, and how did the competition sort of go? Because I think if we had an arcade World Cup, Japan would murder us without any sort of resistance, probably, besides a few players here and there. What was it like on your guys' end of things?
Yeah, same thing. Japan just dominated the tournament pretty much. West versus China was actually very close. We won by half a point.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it actually came down to the last match, which was a survival match, and the Chinese player got no miss, no bomb. So we had to get a better run than Japan for that match, and we did.
Wow, that's incredible. So, what is the player base for this? How many players are on each team, and how many matches does this usually consist of?
So last year there was a scoring and a survival match for each game in the main series Windows era, except Phantasmagoria and Flower View we didn't play. And Legacy of Lunatic Kingdom, there was only a survival match because there's not that many people that score that game. There was also scoring for Great Fairy Wars. Last year it was Lunatic only, but this year we're adding in a few extra stage scoring matches.
And I do know that you've played in the last one. I remember seeing your name, and I see your name right here on the schedule. how many players per team usually, or does it matter? Or do some teams have a ton of players and other teams have like 4 just beasts going at it? How does that work exactly as far as the player density?
It's 1 player per match, basically, and we just try to get someone for as many matches as we can.
So is there a limit? Like, let's say someone has to sub out or something and you were able to play that game, could you sub in for them, or is it like a lock-in where each match must have a different player every time?
No, the same person can't play for can't play for 2 different matches, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Yeah, it's you can only play in 1 match per tournament.
That's really interesting, because I could imagine, like, let's say Jamers hasn't participated, has he? Because I know he is a Touhou player to some degree. Like, he has a lot of great Touhou videos.
He hasn't participated in this tournament.
So let's say you had a sort of, I'm sure this happens, like a Jamers type player on your team where you could almost throw them into any match that, you know, from the Western side of things, you could almost throw them into any match and they'd put up a good fight. What do you do as far as, do you guys like sit down and strategize? Oh, okay, you're going to specialize in this game, you're going to specialize in that game, and then like match up who you're playing against? Or is it mostly kind of just whoever plays the game, get in there and hope to win?
We actually have a sign-up thing where you sign up for specific categories. I think for our team we did top 3 categories you want to play in. And basically from those sign-ups, we try to get the player's best fit for each match.
Oh, nice. So how do you kind of rank? Because I score is pretty straight ahead, right? Where you just, what's your PB? How consistent are you getting at the PB? But let's say you're going up against a player from another region that you haven't really come up against, and it's a survival match. Do you go through and sort of check out their replays and like analyze their strategies to see, okay, how much a competition is this going to be? Or do you just kind of focus on your own PB? Or, you know what I mean? Do you scope out the competition, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I did that last year. This year I know both of the players I'm up against already. Last year was 2 players I had never heard of. Apparently one of them had no miss, no bomb. So that
then did you sit down and be like, crap, now I got a no miss, no bomb the game, basically?
Well, what it was is I asked ZM, because I was playing UFO again, and he knows pretty much every UFO player, about how good my opponents were. He basically just said I'm toast.
Jeez.
I did finish like second in that match,
I can empathize, though, with me v Jamers in the Kumite. I'm like, unless Jamers has like a aneurysm or something, or his controller dies, you know, it's going to be a wrap.
And it is... I don't know if it's better or worse this year, because we also have a limit 5 deaths. That's it.
And then
for last
over?
year, you get no points after the 6th death.
Okay.
And last year, I actually hadn't done it.
Oh.
So then I was like preparing like a month, grinding out, I need to get this. Fortunately for UFO, 5 miss is exactly what you need for LNB and V. And then I got it on the first credit of my match.
Nice. Oh, that's a great segue, actually. How do the match formats work exactly?
So points, how they're calculated based on a system called iScore, which is created by a player called ISN, who's done a lot of things in different games and also competes in this tournament.
Nice.
Basically, so for survival, I'll explain that first, because that's probably more different from how arcade shmup competitions are. So basically you get a base score or no miss, no bomb. And then for each death, that score gets cut in half.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Like a 1 miss, no bomb is worth half as much as a no miss, no bomb. And then 2 miss is worth half of 1 miss, and so on, down to that 5 miss limit. And also, it's weighted for each shot type. So if you do one miss no bomb with a really good shot type, that will lose to a one miss no bomb with a really bad shot type.
Oh, so you have like a little tier list of ships and characters and types and all that. And so if you want to really take home the competition, you're going to play with the low tier character and shot type and no miss, no bomb, and clear the game, basically. Like that's the optimal. Is that the optimal outcome, basically?
Yeah, if you're really confident, you want to play with the worst shot type and hopefully no miss, no bomb, which actually happened twice in the last year.
Well, that's really cool because that adds a layer of strategy for the player, like meta strategy, where you sit down and think, okay, I could go for the weaker shot type, the weaker character, but I'm running the risk of dying more than 5 times or whatever it is and getting nothing. Whereas if you played with the higher tier character, you would at least be a little bit more guaranteed as far as getting points. That's kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, and it does become relevant in the matches.
So how do the Japanese roll? Do they just play low tiers, no miss, no bomb all day? Is it that crazy, or how do they compare?
It depends on the player.
Right.
Like for the harder games, people just played with the best characters. And for some of the more easier games to no miss no bomb, we had a decent amount of people using the low tier shot types.
That's really cool. What about yourself? Did you go high tier?
For my first however long of the tournament, I just used the best character. Then I kind of switched to the worst one, just kind of as a joke, because I had already cleared by that point, so I could. Yeah.
So do you guys do the Shmup Mania style reset timers, or how does that, when you're in, let's say you're in the match, how does that work as far as resets, timers, all that sort of thing?
Yeah, we do. There's time limits on each match, and it's pretty much exactly how you described it. There, you get a certain time limit, and you have to reset in that time limit for the run to count. And that timer runs out, that's your last run. You finish that up, and you're done.
And what's the kind of average match time? Hour and a half, kind of, I'm guessing?
Oh, there's actually a... let me look at this. I don't have it up right now. Yeah, there's on the actual schedule that shows when the matches are, there's something that says reset time in minutes, and it's that. Last year it was really simple. It was just 1 hour for every match, except for Perfect Cherry Blossom and Imperishable Night scoring, because those are like 50-minute long runs. So those got an hour and a half.
Yeah, I'm looking through it now. Looks about most of them are, I'm seeing 75. Whoa. Yeah, Perfect Cherry Blossom is 2 hours and 15 minutes or something like that. Yeah. That's crazy.
Most matches are going to be longer this year.
So we talked about the schedule. We talked about sort of the formatting. Oh, we need to talk about scoring, how that works as far as the meta scoring of it, as far as deciding overall which team wins the scoring side of things.
So you also get points based on where you place in your match. So like if you win your match and it's 3 players, then you get 2 points. Second place gets 1 point, and then third place doesn't get any points.
Oh, okay.
And that's just added up to get the overall score for each team. Pretty simple.
So what is kind of is it evenly divided, or is there more of an emphasis on scoring runs or survival runs? For instance, like let's say your team has really high survival tier players, but it's kind of meh on scoring, or is it equal?
For the overall score, every match just gets counted the same.
Okay. And you said they're pretty evenly divided as far as which ones are survival, which ones are score, like each game has both?
Yeah.
And they're different players, I'm assuming, right? Like the different player for scoring, different player for survival, or is it a player covers both scoring and survival?
It's different players for each match.
So you need to have a pretty big roster of players to fill out this schedule, it's looking like.
Yeah.
Does the West struggle with that, or does I guess, how deep are these teams as far as talent-wise? Like, because I could see, for instance, with arcade shmups, not only would the West struggle against Japan because Japan has really high-tier, amazing players like WTN, ZPS, all that sort of stuff, but they also have a massive roster of players too. So it wouldn't just be that they have the best players; they also have tons of really good players. So they could throw tons of different players at the games. Does the West struggle with that in Touhou, or do we have a pretty solid roster of players available?
All the players we have selected are really good, but I don't think we have that many players that could replace them if
Right.
we need to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
You're able to fill out the roster, though, it sounds like. Because I could kind of imagine a situation like this with arcade where we would just not come up with anyone for something. We don't have a player who plays this other than Jamers, and he's locked into this other match or whatever it is.
Yeah, there is a few matches that are just 2 people.
So how about China? I'm very interested to hear about their side of things, because I know nothing about the Chinese shmup scene or the Chinese Touhou scene, other than they restreamed Shmup Slam on Bilibili because they can't do it on YouTube.
They do have a pretty sizable Touhou community. There is a lot of really good players there. They've started getting a lot of world records recently. So,
oh, wow.
We're terrified of them in this tournament.
You were able to edge them out last year, it sounds like, right? The West edged them out by half a point
barely.
or a point or whatever it was.
Yeah. It was really close between us last year.
So we've talked about the formatting, kind of getting an idea. So when people are playing, I was watching some match VODs. It looks like all 3 teams are playing at once, and it's kind of like a multi-display. Or are there times where there's just 2 teams, or is it always all 3 teams at once?
Yeah, everyone plays at the same time. And
do you have trouble? I'm imagining, well, I don't know. Are you having a lot of trouble with scheduling as far as time zones? Because I imagine, that comes up at Shmup Slam. Or are the Touhou players that dedicated? They'll play at 3 a.m. Like when I did Shmup Relay, I was playing at 2 a.m.
Yeah, it is really hard to schedule these matches. Especially given just how big the time zone difference is from us to the Asian players.
Yeah, I definitely... Are China and Japan in similar-ish time zones, or are they in weird time zones from each other as well?
They're only 1 hour apart, so it's pretty easy for them.
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
That's weird. And China's a massive country. Does China have multiple time zones? Like someone in Eastern China is like, yo, I'm 15 hours out, and then the guy in Western, I don't know. Like, I'm bad with time zones. Or is it not that big of a deal?
No, they actually have one time zone for the whole country.
Nice. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. So we talked about the sort of formatting. I hope that I see people in chat kind of talking a little bit about how it works. We went over that. So let's get into some of the juicy stuff here. So what are the highlight matches that you're looking for, and the players that we should definitely keep our eyes on?
Okay, so first one I'd like to mention is Touhou 17 Lunatic scoring. All 3 players in that match have counterstopped the game with all 3 characters.
Oh, so are we going to see a low tier, 3 low tiers going for counterstops?
Counterstop isn't possible with every shot type because there's 3 variants for each character.
Oh, okay.
I think Seiko, who's the Chinese player for that match, I think he's going to use one of the lower tier scoring shots because he's really good with those. The other players, I think, probably would just stick with the high tiers. Might need to go into True Score for that one. That would be interesting.
So how does True Score work?
Just simply, you apply a patch to the game that removes the counter stop.
Oh, nice. That is one nice thing about Touhou is, compared to arcade, like with the Futari counter stop and stuff like that, or Guange, or Guange, or however the hell you say it, I always forget. Getting those counter stops fixed is a pain in the butt, but I imagine because of how well modded Touhou is, someone out there is just like, I'll fix that real quick.
Yeah. The counter stop patch came out before the game was actually counter stopped.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, any other matches that we need to keep our eyes on?
Another one I want to mention is UFO Lunatic Survival. All 3 players in that match have no miss, no bomb.
Is that you? Are you in
No,
UFO?
that's the match I played in last year. I'm gonna do scoring this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And for people who don't know, because I was kind of getting more familiar with this, isn't UFO one of the more difficult survival Touhou games?
Yeah, most high-level players will tell you it's the hardest.
And I remember,
That being said,
remember you watching it. Oh, I remember
Go
watching
ahead.
you play it, and there's like those crazy hand patterns and stuff like that.
Yeah, as I was gonna say though, with the 5 miss limit, Legacy of Lunatic Kingdom is harder. That game has absolutely insane patterns.
That is interesting. So, no, that's because I'm guessing Legacy of Lunatic typically gives you lots of resources, so it isn't too bad. But in this format, resources, aren't as big of a deal because you can't break that 5 miss limit. Is it kind of like that?
Yeah, that game normally you get like 20 lives or something.
Right.
And there's also characters with really overpowered bombs that just cheese the game.
And you're not allowed to bomb.
Bombs, this time you are allowed, but it counts as 2 deaths.
Oh, so it's very punishing to bomb.
Yeah.
So why would you? Just because once you just take the hit, if it counts for 2 deaths?
Yeah, it's better to just die.
Maybe, I'm trying to think of the scenario where you'd want to bomb at that point. Maybe like a chain death type thing could come up or something? Or is it like a extra punishing, like people are used to bombing, and so it's like a extra punishment. Be like, hey, not only can you not bomb, but if you do, you're getting extra punished.
The point of it is to encourage no bomb runs. That's kind of like the next step most people take after a Lunatic 1cc is they try to beat them without bombs.
Right. I guess if it was 1 death, then people would bomb so they wouldn't have to lose their power-ups, I guess.
Yeah.
I see.
Anyway, other matches. Imperishable Knight Lunatic scoring, that's the top 2 players for Ghost Team. That's going to be a really good one to watch. Actually, something interesting about that match, we couldn't get it so both players play at the same time. So Levaya is going to play first. He's going to do a private live stream to the event organizers. And then they're just going to show that alongside Zetsu for the live stream.
I was thinking of doing something like that with Shmup Slam, actually. Like, if it absolutely comes down to it or something. Because, yeah, at some point, with the time zones and stuff and people's work schedules, it gets real hard to get people lined up.
Yeah. This is the only time we've had to do this, though, so far.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get it live, that's more fun. That's way more fun.
Yeah. Let's see, what else is there?
How about Touhou 6? Because I'm growing very fond of Touhou 6. Is anything exciting happening there?
Yeah, Touhou 6. That's really standard stuff for that game. Something I'd actually like to mention is the Japanese player for extra scoring for that game, Osaka. They are an absolutely ancient player. They've been around for almost 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's like kind of how old is Touhou? It's around there, right?
First game came out in 1996.
Yeah, so it's close.
Yeah.
The dude's playing it on the old whatever computer that was before it hit Windows. I can't remember what computer it is.
Yeah, I think for Osaka, he did start playing around the time EOSD came out. Like, he's not quite at 20 years, but he's really close to it.
Nice. Well, yeah, that's not too uncommon for the arcade players, but I could see that being, Touhou skews younger. Like, it's a younger series than a lot of these older arcade games anyway. So I could definitely see that being kind of a long time player, 20 years.
Yeah.
Speaking of long time
one of
players,
the
this is another interesting question. Are there any sort of young newcomers, Moglar types coming up? Like this dude started playing 2 years ago and he's vying for world records or something.
There's actually quite a few players that got really good really quickly. I'd actually like to mention one who doesn't play anymore, but was pretty much exactly like Moglar and how he started. RB. He started playing when he was like 15 or something, and then just a few years later, he got the world record for Legacy of Lunatic Kingdom, and still has it today.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy with players. I was talking about this a little bit with shmups. It's crazy how with younger players or players that are in certain periods of their life, you're not quite sure if they're going to continue with the genre or not, because they haven't quite settled into, like, maybe they go to school, maybe they get out of school, maybe they get full-time job, maybe they have kids and all that sort of stuff. Whereas like the older players, like myself, I've already done all that stuff, so my life's not going to radically shift unless I don't know, I start making some serious money or something. But other than that,
yeah.
Well, how about your match? We got you on here. For people who don't know, ZPS is a very talented player. I always kind of look to him whenever I have a Touhou question, like ZPS knows. He's really, really good. What are your thoughts on your own match?
So in my match, I have no chance to win, basically.
Do you have a chance to come in second, though? Because
probably not. The only way is if one of the players doesn't clear.
But isn't it a thing you were saying where even if you don't win but you do well, do you get points or no?
You only get points if you come in first or second in your match.
Okay, so rough times.
Yeah. So I'm up against KG, who is the world record holder in the game and has had it since 2016. His PB is 3.5 billion. Mine's only 2.3.
Damn.
So that's pretty bad. And then 17 is the other player. He recently got his first 3 billion point score. And
so they're in the 3 bill club.
Yeah.
How big of a score gap? I know, like, point wise it's a big score gap, but when like meta wise, how far away is that from you?
There's actually quite a lot I still don't do in my route that I could use to score a lot higher. 3 bill is still an extremely difficult score, though. There's only 12 people that have gotten it.
Wow. And I do notice, just from looking at your guys' leaderboards and stuff, Touhou has a really active, comparatively speaking, like really active competitive community. As far as you guys got lots of different people vying for these scores and these runs.
I would say so. Something else I'd like to mention about my match is KG uses Sonai B and 17 uses Marissa A. And Marissa A gets more I score for less points. So that's actually going to be an interesting match from the different shot types perspective.
Yeah, I always have an interest as far as how the meta of Marissa works, because every time I play Touhou, I'm tempted to play. I think I played Marissa. No, I didn't. I tried to play Marissa in a Perfect Cherry and switched off, but she always kind of strikes me as a character that might be really good for scoring or something like that, but is probably difficult for survival. Is that accurate? I mean, I'm sure from game to game it depends, but I guess in this case,
it definitely depends on the game.
How about this one?
For UFO, Marissa A and Sonai B, their scoring potentials are very close to each other, but Marissa A is a lot harder to use.
But would that go towards his meta tier score that you guys have, as far as...
Yes, it would.
Nice.
So, yeah,
I guess how does that work in scoring? Did they get a score bonus that's kind of tacked on if they play the lower tier?
It's just kind of weighted for each shot type.
Right. So let's say he got 3.1 bill, and the other guy with the higher tier ship got 3 bill. How would that turn out?
I think better example would be 3.1 versus 3.2, because as far as I'm aware, that's the scores they're going to be aiming for.
Okay.
3.1 with Marissa A beats 3.2 with Sonai B.
Okay. So you guys just kind of make these sort of like deadlock rules. Like if you get here and he's here, this is what's going to happen.
There's a somewhat complex formula to calculate that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
You got to bust out the calculator for that.
Yeah.
That's cool, though. I like that sort of thing. Well,
And
any
then,
other things that we need to cover? Of course, it starts this Saturday. I guess, where are we watching this? Isn't it on its own Twitch channel now, right?
That's just for the raw feed. English commentary is on the Touhou Replay Showcase Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/Touhou_replay_showcase.
Nice.
And also you can go to maribelhearn.com/TWC. There's the schedule for when all the matches are happening. It converts to your own time zone automatically. There's also links to the streams for each language. We're also going to have commentary in Chinese, Japanese, and Russian.
Wow. That's impressive. So I guess before we end this off, because this is just for my own personal interest, but I think many of the people tuning in, let's go over the Western player roster. Who's playing in the West, and give a little bio on them.
Okay, I think I'll just go down each of the matches. So start with EOSD Lunatic Survival. Lorena Rose, actually someone I've known for over 4 years at this point. One of the first people I met in the Touhou community. I think she has, I forget if it's 2 miss or 1 miss no bomb in that game. But she's been focusing on it for years at this point. And then scoring, Kana0603, he's, I think, second highest score in the West. He has a cursed score, 666 million. But yeah, he's pretty good. He's up against the world record holder, though, so...
Rough.
Yeah. And Trick of Hat, scores EOSD. Not really much else to say. Pretty much what he's focused on. I don't remember what his PB for extra is. I know it's over 500 million, though. And then...
Have most of the Western players been around a long time?
Yeah, I'd say most of them have been around for probably at least 3 or 4 years. Anyway, so now for Perfect Cherry Blossom, our player for Survival is Ghost. He was one of the first Western players to get a no miss no bomb on Lunatic. This was back in 2014, I think. And he's still active, so pretty good that we got him. And then SP0 for scoring. Fun fact about that, which team he played on was actually determined by RNG because he's Chinese, but he lives in Canada, so he could have played either team.
Nice.
And he didn't want to choose sides on his own, so he just did RNG to decide it. So that's pretty fun.
That is funny. He's divided. He's divided loyalty.
Yeah.
Well, what if he's a double agent? What if he's, he goes to play and he starts just suiciding? You're like, no, we've been tricked.
Yeah. Anyway, also he has the second highest score in the world for that game, 3.6 bill. But he's up against Yusuke, who has 4 billion and is pretty much untouchable at this point. That match isn't unwinnable, though, I don't think, because there's always the chance of not clearing. For Perfect Cherry Blossom, it's unlikely, though, because there's not that many intentional deaths. Okay, anyway, for Imperishable Night Survival, we have Jovial, who is actually kind of an interesting player. He was around back in like 2013 to 2015, and then he kind of disappeared. And then one day, all of a sudden, he started uploading videos again, joined the Touhou Discord server, still active now. And he is just as good as he was back then. Also one of the first Western players to get a no miss no bomb on Lunatic, actually.
He just had to knock out his degree real quick.
Yeah.
Knocked out his master's and came back.
Yeah. But yeah, it was kind of a mysterious player for a while. No one really knew much about him, and now he's very active in the community. And then scoring another interesting player, Levaya. who, from what I remember, we just found streaming on Twitch one day. Convinced him to start scoring, and he turned out to be really good.
I know, that's crazy when that happens.
He now has the second highest score for Ghost Team. He is 40 million behind the world record, which is, let me check this. I don't remember what it is. It's 6.5 something. 6.571 is the world record. His PB is 6.531. So he's getting close there.
Nice. Is that his goal, to beat the world record?
As far as I'm aware, yeah. And then for Imperishable Knight, there's also a scoring category for the extra stage. For that, we have Sakura, who is actually the world record holder for Imperishable Knight Extra.
Nice. Take
so
it home
we
for
at
the
least
West.
have one. And then after that, we're adding in Phantasmagoria of Flower View for this tournament. We have Dagoth for that category. Someone probably a few of the arcade shmup players have heard of.
Yeah, I've seen Dagoth around.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's really good at POFV. He has a few world records for a few different shot types in that game. I think he's in a pretty good position for that match. And then Mountain of Faith. For survival, we have KO, who actually has no miss, no bomb with every single shot type. Was the second person to do that in that game.
So will he be playing a low tier?
I would imagine so. He
That's
also
cool.
played in this match last year and won.
Oh, nice. I like Mountain of Faith. I mean, I haven't gotten there in Touhou Quest yet, but from what I have played, I tend to like that game, so I'm excited to watch
Yeah,
that.
most people say that's a really good game. And then Lunatic scoring from off, we don't have anyone for that match. Unfortunately, there's a few
Jamers.
we couldn't fill.
Someone call Jamers. Get him in there.
I don't think he scores Touhou games though.
Oh, dang.
Okay, and then Subterranean Animism for survival, we have Ness. She also played in this category last year and got a PB during her match, so that's pretty good.
That's always cool.
And
I got a PB in
this
Shmup
year-
Slam too.
And this year since then, she's gotten a 1 miss, no bomb. So she can win this match, I think.
Nice.
And then scoring, someone I'm sure you've heard of, Scarlet Moose. He has
Yes,
DDP
indeed.
2 all.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
And he got it
Yeah.
just after me, so I appreciate him waiting for me to get mine first, because had he gotten it before me, I think I would have thrown myself off a balcony, and that would have been the end of the channel, because I could not handle the dude showing up and getting it. He got it in like a week or something. You know, it was like, I'm playing Donpachi.
he's
Then he's like,
a
I got
very
the 2
highly
all
skilled player.
in like a week.
Yeah. He recently got into scoring in this game, and he's over 4 billion at this point, which is pretty good.
Yeah, I'll
he
be
got
rooting
that
for him.
really quickly.
Yeah,
And
Scarlet Moose is
then-
really good.
And for UFO Survival, the match I was originally going to play in, but Minnow wanted to do it instead, and at the time there was some doubt if we'd even have a scoring match at all, so I decided to just do scoring.
Right.
So yeah, for
You're
Survival,
kind of like
Minnow...
you like
ahead.
sacrificed yourself for the team, basically. You walked out. You're like
basically.
walking out to the slaughter.
Because for scoring also, ZM wasn't available, and he's who we normally have for that kind of stuff. Anyway, yeah, so Minnow, he has no miss, no bomb in every Windows era game except Legacy of Lunatic Kingdom.
Nice.
So he's another very highly skilled player.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people have discovered Touhou through his channel. He's pretty prominent, like shmup.
Yeah.
Not shmup. I guess Touhou shmup slash, personality. Like a lot of people get, from what I've talked to, have gotten familiar with Touhou through his stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And then on to my match, UFO scoring. So that's my match now.
Nice.
As I said, PB right now 2.3. I think I might be able to get 2.5 by the time my match happens.
I guess you
But
can
the-
also always hope too that nerves sink in for people. Some people do struggle to play live, so I guess that could be a possibility.
Yeah. I doubt it though. Yeah. KG and 17 are both extremely good players. And then next up, GFW Lunatic Survival. Yachi is playing in that one. He's actually been playing a lot of cave games recently. I think he's also going for Ketsuya Mote 2-all.
Nice.
But yeah, he's done a lot of stuff with Touhou. He has 1 miss, no bomb in, I think, 4 different games.
That's impressive.
Yeah. And scoring, I'm actually kind of surprised we're not having someone for that category. We have Chum, Megapulse, one of them probably could have played, but apparently not.
Weren't in the mood. What about Juju Kenobi? Could you rope him into playing in one of these?
Possibly. I don't know when the last time he played Touhou was, though.
I don't know. He's really, really good shmup player. I know that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he'd be good enough for this tournament. What's next? 10 Desires. Survival. We have Cao Min, who played in the Imperishable Night survival category last year. He has 1 miss, no bomb in that game. I don't actually know what he's done in DD, though. And then Lunatic scoring, we have Maribel, who is another person that's quite prominent in the Touhou community, created MaribelHearn.com.
Yeah, Maribel played live at Stunfest, too.
Yes, that too. I forgot about that.
I know. We got Maribel needs to get revenge on... Is this the game that he played at Stunfest? Is it the same game?
Yes, it is.
Okay, he needs to get his revenge.
Yeah, I think he can do it. He has actually improved quite a lot since then. Shouldn't really come as a surprise considering that Stunfest was 2 years ago, so...
Yes. I think he was just kind of picking it up back then or something, if I remember from his interview.
He still had a pretty good score, but it was
I was thinking of
career.
the survival run. I think he was just picking up the survival stuff.
Yeah, survival for TD is very different from scoring.
Yeah, I remember this. This is one thing I do remember. Like, there's a lot of iframe abuse in the scoring one, right?
Yeah, definitely.
It's all about abusing those iframes.
Yeah, and then for extra scoring, we have Morth, who is a former world record holder for that category, but he's been beaten since then. Yeah, so pretty good there.
Yeah, if you got a world record under your belt.
Yeah. And then survival, we have Yatsuzume, who is one of the most highly skilled survival players. He has no miss, no bomb in every Windows era game. Still the only Western player with Legacy of Lunatic Kingdom no miss, no bomb.
Wow. So that sounds like a big hitter.
Yeah, it is by far the hardest no miss, no bomb in the series.
So was that one of those ones where y'all sat down and let's say, okay, we're going to put this player in this slot? Because you said he could basically play any game.
He's playing double dealing character. I think he just simply wanted to play that game because he's been focusing on that one a lot recently, trying to play with some of the worst shot types.
Oh, nice.
His plan for that, he's going to play with Sakuya B at first, which is the worst one. And if that doesn't go well, then he's going to switch to Marissa B, who's a little bit better, but still gets a lot of score for the tournament.
Right.
And then scoring, we don't have anyone for Lunatic, but we do have someone for Extra, THK. Someone I actually don't know that much about. So, yeah.
Mystery player.
Yeah, we do follow each other on Twitter, but don't really know that much about him. Then on to Legacy of Lunatic Kingdom Survival, the only match for that game, because scoring is not something that many people do for some reason for this game.
Interesting.
For Survival, we have Creepy Ninja, who is...
Oh, I've seen his channel.
He's probably best known for his fan gameplay. He plays a lot of those.
I remember seeing a bunch of lunatic clears by him. Like, for some reason, whenever I look
Yes.
for a lunatic clear, it's his channel. I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah, he has a few LNNs in fan games. And of course, tons of lunatic 1CCs.
Mm-hmm.
And then next up would be Hidden Star in 4 Seasons. Fun fact, first game that came out after I started playing.
That's cool.
For survival in that game, it's Hockey for us, who I think has no miss, no bomb in that game. I know he just got it in Mountain of Faith as well. So, pretty good. And then for scoring, we have Ray, who formerly had the Legacy of Lunatic Kingdom Easy Sonai world record, which was his first one. And then he has a few world records for the spring subseason in this game. So I think he actually can win this match because of how overpowered spring is for iScore.
There you go.
Yeah. His main subseason and the one that's worth the most points.
So how are we stacking up against China so far? Is it looking even-ish? Or are they bulldozing us? What's it looking like?
I actually haven't heard of a lot of the Chinese players.
Wild card.
I know there's a few where they're just going to win. There's a few where we still can beat them. I think I'm going to go through some of the more well-known players after I'm done with the Western roster.
Sounds good.
Okay, so what's next? Just 17. So for Team West, we have Bohemian Break, who is someone I actually hadn't heard of before this tournament, but apparently he has no miss, no bomb in this game. So, once again, pretty good player. And then scoring, we have Borealis, still the only Western player to counterstop the game, and he's done it with all 3 characters.
Oh, nice.
He was, what was he, the 3rd person to counterstop the game, I think? He adopted that game really early on after it came out.
Yeah, 3rd person in the world or 3rd Western person?
3rd person in the world.
That's impressive.
Yeah. And anyway, so that's Western team roster. So now some of the other players I'd like to mention. First one, ZJM for Team China in EOSD Lunatic Survival. He's a player that has done a lot of different stuff and is really good at basically everything. And next up, Yusuke, Japanese player for Perfect Cherry Blossom Lunatic scoring. He has the world record in that game and has, I think, since 2014, I want to say. He's the only person to get a score of 4 billion points in that game.
And that's the 2-hour, 15-minute run, right?
Yes.
Jeez.
The one where you have
Why is it that
2
long?
hours
Is there
for the
like a
match.
crazy milk section or something?
The run itself is about 50 minutes. We just like giving people chances to improve after they've already cleared.
Oh, okay.
Bucci, a player I'm sure a lot of people haven't actually heard of. He was so when Touhou 17 came out, Yomu Eagle was glitched, we found out, and she did way less damage than we thought she would. And people thought, oh, that's going to be the hardest one to get no miss, no bomb with. And Bucci was the first person to do it with her. It just kind of came out of nowhere.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was pretty great. Yuki played UFO at STG Lovers Relay. He's competing in this in the survival category. And then Zetsu, the Japanese player for Imperishable Night Lunatic scoring, also known as Iwana. He is the Ghost Team world record holder. So, yeah, as I said, top 2 players for Ghost Team in that match.
That would be a cool one to tune in for.
Yeah. And IDTN for TD extra scoring, current number 2 score, behind Leo, who played the game at the first STG Lovers Relay, and ended his stream on world record pace because it wasn't 4-bill pace.
That's nice. I think I remember that.
Yeah, that was pretty great. And then next up, Sero for SA Lunatic Survival. He created Touhou World Cup.
Oh, the mastermind.
Yep.
The Morpheus of World Cup.
And another, and then for Moth Lunatic Scoring, Chinese player there is ZXX Smart. He is a player that recently has gotten really close to the world record in that game. He is only 2 million points away. And the interesting thing with that too, Mountain of Faith is actually the game with the longest standing world record. It has survived since August 2013.
Whoa, that's a long 8 years? About? Almost 8 years or so?
Almost 8 years.
So
second
what's the deal there? Why is the record so old?
Because Mountain of Faith is probably the most optimized game for scoring.
Okay.
It's actually not that hard to get a score that's, say, 90% of the world record, but from there is just a ton of optimization.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And then EOSD Lunatic Scoring, Japanese player for that, 9Y, also known as Izumiko. He has the world record in that game. He has, I think he got over 760 at this point. 800 million pace game over.
That's awesome how many world record holders are in this competition.
Yeah. Who else? And then TD Lunatic Scoring. The Chinese player for that, Lyrica, has the world record with Marissa. Not the overall, but just Marissa specifically.
And is Marissa low tier in that?
Marissa is second best, but still pretty highly disadvantaged to Yomu, who has the absolute highest scoring potential. I don't think any of the players use Yomu. Let me check that, actually. NS uses Sonai, who is actually low tier. That'll be interesting. Then I already talked about KG and 17 earlier when talking about my match.
That's right.
HSIF's Lunatic Scoring Hero, the Japanese player, he has the second highest score in that game. Actually, does he still? I know he had it for a really long time. He does indeed still have the second highest score. And then
Japan is stacked.
Yeah, definitely. And something I'd actually like to mention, Team Japan, they had actually more people than they needed, so they had some qualifiers, which brings me to the next player, Suma.
So funny. Like they had to have a tournament to enter Team Japan, basically. Yeah. That's like some, I don't know if you follow StarCraft, but that's like some Korean StarCraft stuff where like the qualifier to get on the Korean team is the actual the actual championships.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. And then that brings me to Imperishable Knight Lunatic Survival. Fusuma, during the qualifier, got no miss, no bomb.
Imperishable Knight's such a cool game, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's a really good game. And then, let's see, HSIF's Lunatic Survival. For that one, the Japanese player is Sok. He is definitely the best survival player in the world. He has no miss, no bomb, not just in every game, but with every shot type, except for two, which is Reimu and Sanai in Legacy of Lunatic Kingdom. Those are the only ones he's missing for the Windows era.
So, like you said, in a survival tournament, this guy could just... Like, if they drop the rule of allowing people to play multiple games, this guy could, like, beat the entire world at all the entire games. At all the games?
Basically.
That's crazy.
Who else is there that I know of? ISN is playing in DDC Lunatic Scoring for Team China. He's the guy that created the scoring system.
Right. And
also in that tournament, Dean playing for Team Japan. He's gotten a pretty big improvements in that game recently. He's I think he has 1.8 bill now, and the world record is 2.2. And then Pingval, the Japanese player for IN Extra Scoring.
That sounds familiar.
You know that guy?
Yeah.
That's because he played Shoot the Bullet at SGDQ.
That's right. That's right. Yes. I was like, that sounds super familiar.
And then last player I'd like to mention in the Japanese player for Legacy of Lunatic Kingdom Survival, SNT, also known as Sonata. He's another player that has no miss, no bomb in every game.
That's impressive.
So, yeah, there's a lot of highly skilled players in this tournament.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on and giving us the rundown of it, because I'm really looking forward to it, tuning in, and I think it's cool to have a little bit of a backstory as far as what to expect, what people are going for, all that good stuff.
Yep.
So let's take a final look at the schedule, shall we, as far as the dates?
Yes.
So it starts this Saturday.
It does.
And does the time automatically correct for your time zone?
On Maribel's website, it does.
Yes. So I'm seeing a 1 o'clock. Is that 1 in the morning or is that 1 in the afternoon? Probably. This looks
for you. That's 1 in the morning.
Military time. So 1 in the morning. I can do that.
What's your language set to? Oh, languages cannot be set on this page. That's annoying.
So it goes through Saturday, and then it jumps to then it goes to Sunday, and then it jumps to the next week. It looks like.
Yeah, we're only doing matches on the weekends.
That makes sense, scheduling wise.
Yeah.
So how many weeks does this thing run?
First tournament is on March 20th, and the last one, first match, and then the last one is on May 8th, so about a month and a half.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool.
Then each day we play, we have 2 matches, and then for some weeks we have 2 days that we play, so 4 matches per week, basically.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like a gauntlet of Touhou lunatic runs. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, so very long tournament. Lots of how many matches are there actually? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. So I counted 28 matches.
Wow. And the last match is on May 8th.
Yes.
That's really cool. Well, that's cool. It'd be cool as the tournament's going on. We can do little updates as far as, highlights and what the score's looking at. You know what I mean? Draft your fantasy Touhou League.
I think it could be interesting to do some updates for as the match goes on.
Yeah.
Also, as Crested said in chat, there's no matches for March 21st because that's the day the demo for Touhou 17 comes out. 18 comes out.
And that's just hey, we can't be
Let's
clogging
focus
up
on
that
new
day.
game.
Yeah, it's kind of like I'm trying to think when they shut down. Was something about when they released Dragon Warrior back in the day and kids were skipping school or something? You'd go to hold the match and everyone's gone. They're off playing the new Touhou demo.
Yeah. Yeah, we'd just want to not take away from the demo releasing with that.
That makes sense. That would be kind of funny if you did a sort of impromptu match where everyone had to play the demo. That'd be kind of a fun idea.
I think that would be interesting, but I don't know how well that would work out. It's an interesting idea, though.
Yeah, a little exhibition match, maybe.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure there's a big gambling ring around this, right? Where people, take bets, just get loans out to place their house all on a lunatic score or the perfect cherry blossom and all that sort of thing?
That's actually a thing on ISN's website, which is pretty big in the Chinese community, but anyone can join it.
Oh,
Um,
that's real
they
funny.
have this point system where you can bet on the matches.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll have to bet on one. I mean, what's your pick? What should I bet on?
Really, that's up to you.
But you're my expert advisor. I mean, as far as like if you were my bookie and you're like, okay, this one's a smart bet.
Probably Sock winning HSIF's Lunatic Survival would be the safest one.
Okay, let me see. Let me find that. Well, I got a bet on the Western boys. Is he Western?
Sock is Japanese.
Yeah, I need a good Western bet.
Which Western player would be most likely to win?
How does Mino look? Is this going to be a rough one for Mino?
That, I think, is actually a very close match.
Okay, I'll bet on Mino to win.
Okay, you can do that. That works.
Awesome. This could be fun. Maybe I'll put a little thing in the Discord talking about the betting around the competition.
Oh yeah, dude, 32th System just brought something up in chat with the betting. Last year, DDC Survival, there was a player called Pyro who pretty much no one had ever heard of. And 1% of the people that bet in that match bet on him, and then he won.
Nice. That's always the long shot win. That's always the best feeling.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Thanks so much for joining. We're at a solid hour. I think we covered the event. Any final words before we say adios?
So, as I mentioned earlier, go to maribelhearn.com/TWC. There's a schedule which automatically converts to your time zone and a list of all the restreams. And for the English restream specifically, that is the Touhou Replay Showcase channel, twitch.tv/Touhou_replay_showcase.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Adios.
And goodbye.